Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Express Entry in 2023, how to prepare and what to expect. Now, I'm recording this. It is the morning of February 1st, 2023. So I just put that out there because, of course, we may have a draw later on today. But what I'm going to be talking about is where we are up to at the moment. Okay. Just a little brief bit about me. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. So I've had my license for about 14, coming up to 15 years. And it's just really important for you to know that if you are going to hire somebody for a fee to take care of your, to represent you in your immigration application, the person needs to be a regulated Canadian immigration consultant or they need to be a lawyer in Canada. Okay, so it's very important that you know that. You also need to know that, of course, it's absolutely your choice if ever you want to hire someone to help you with your application. It's not obligatory at all. So what we're going to be talking about today is basically what's happening with Express Entry, okay, with regards to the draws. What are the current number of candidates? What are the targets? So the immigration levels plan. What do we expect? And importantly, make sure you keep your Express Entry profile up to date. And then we'll just briefly touch on other permanent residency options and, you know, what to do to maintain your status in Canada if you are here. Now, bear in mind, this is general information in this webinar. It is not case specific. Your situation is different than everybody else's. So you need to make sure that whatever we discuss, you need to look at your case, your situation, and see how you are impacted, okay, and what applies to you and what options apply to you. So what is Express Entry? So this is an online system, okay, that is used to manage immigration applications from skilled workers. So there are 3 immigration programs managed through Express Entry. So we have the Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program. If you're eligible in one of the above programs, and you can also apply through Express Entry for the provincial nominee programs, depending on the province you're in and what the options are. Okay, so not all provinces have Express Entry options, but just to bear in mind that you know, they do look through applicants to pull people out of the pool. Okay, so you have to be eligible under one of these programs to be able to go through into the Express Entry pool. Now, I'm not getting into all the technicalities of these programs, but just important for you to know that, you know, you do need to meet the requirements of one of those classes. Okay. Very good news is that, of course, the all program draws resumed in July 2022. They really were put on hold during COVID. You know, we had the last federal skilled worker draw was in December 2020, unbelievably. And then the last Canadian Experience Class draw had been in September 2021. So since July 2022, when the all program draws resumed, and what I mean by that is that immigration started inviting people eligible under Federal Skilled Worker, Canadian Experience Class, and Federal Skilled Trades Class, okay? Prior to that, they'd really just been focusing on people who were pulled out through the provincial nominee. Since July, we've had 13 draws. There was a pause between November 23rd, 2022 and January 11th, 2023. That was due to a glitch in the system with regards to the new tier, okay, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. The good news is that the number of invitations have been steadily increasing each draw. The last 2 draws, actually, which were only a week apart, they both invited 5,500 people, okay? So these are pretty much some of the largest draws that have ever happened. The last draw, which was on January 18th, was 490. And this is the lowest that it's actually been since September 2021. Okay, when at that point it was actually the last Canadian Experience Class draw, and the points were at 462. So what we're seeing is that more invitations are being issued and the points are starting to drop. Okay, so we just need to keep an eye on that, and hopefully this is a trend that will continue. As of January 18th, okay, which is the last draw, there was about 240,000 applicants in the pool. About 2,500 were over 501 points. Between 481 and 500, there's about 15,000 people still, okay? Between 451 and 500 points, there was still just about 65,000 people, okay? So it's important for you to know after, you know, you've done your points calculation, really what your chances of being selected. It'll give you an idea, okay? What is incredibly exciting is that the immigration targets were released for 2023 to 2025 And they're very high, okay? This is following in line with the fact that in 2022, Canada saw the highest number of permanent residents ever that arrived in Canada, 405,000, okay? For the next 3 years, the government has set the following targets. For 2023, 465,000, 2024, 485,000, and look at that, in 2025, 500,000. Okay, so these are phenomenal numbers. We're very excited. And on top of this, 60% of planned admissions are going to be in the economic class by 2025. Okay, so again, that's federal skilled workers, CEC, federal skilled trades, plus the business and provincial programs. Why are these numbers so high? Well, did you know that immigration accounts for almost 100% of Canada's labor force growth? By 2032, in fact, immigration is projected to account for 100% of Canada's population growth. We have an aging population. The worker to retiree ratio 50 years ago was 7 workers to 1 retiree. Guess what? By 2035, which is only 12 years away, it's going to be 2 to 1. Okay, so 2 retirees to each worker. So what changes do we expect? Now, as I'm sure you've seen in the news, there are new features in the Express Entry system that are expected in the first quarter of 2023. Okay, so we don't have the details yet. We are waiting on those. But the features are going to be aimed at those with skills and qualifications in sectors facing acute labor shortages. So this includes healthcare, manufacturing, building trades, and science, technology, engineering, and math. Okay, so what this means is that we are expecting occupation-specific draws, targeted draws. So we really don't have any further details. We need to wait and see how they're going to do it. Okay, this has happened in the past. You know, pre-Express Entry, we absolutely had, occupation specific. So we just need to see what is going to happen. You know, we anticipate there may be other targeted draws that could deal with education levels. It could also deal with language. Okay, Canada's really doing a push to further attract and increase francophones outside the province of Quebec, and so it is possible that there will also be draws for francophones too. But again, until we have the details, we can't say. So right now, all we do know is that there are going to be new features expected that will be targeted or aimed at those with skills and qualifications in those sections, those sectors with acute labor shortages. So absolutely watch this space. Okay, follow social media, keep your eye on the news, because this is going to be a pretty major shift in Canada's immigration system when it happens. So just a reminder is that the tier system, or the NOC, was updated on November 16th, 2022. It's very important that for those of you that have Express Entry profiles, that you have changed the NOC. So it's gone from a 4-digit to a 5-digit. Okay, so with this new tier system, you have to make sure that you have amended your NOC code in your Express Entry profile. Okay, because if you don't, you could be at, 600 plus points, you won't get an invitation to apply if you have not amended your NOC. So please make sure you do that as soon as possible. Very important, there are certain occupations that were upgraded to skilled occupations. For example, truck drivers, estheticians, just 2 out of 16 occupations that were upgraded. This is incredibly important, because what this means is that for those of you that have this experience in the past, it means you can now count it towards your skilled work experience. But it also means that if you're in those occupations now, you can apply. Whereas all of these occupations in the past were not able to apply because it was not considered skilled work. So this is a huge shift and a really, really good one. So really do double check, okay, to see, because there may be work experience that you didn't think you could count that you now can count, okay? On the flip side, there were 3 occupations that were downgraded, which is surprising. So this includes personal trainers, so gym instructors, tailors, furriers, dressmakers, models, and so some other performers in the arts. So again, double check, because you don't want to think you're eligible and then realize that actually your occupation has been downgraded. Okay, so double check that. So what you want to do when you're creating an Express Entry profile, the first thing is you have to do your language tests. So you have to have your language test completed in order for your express entry profile to go ahead, right? Because that's the only way that points can be calculated for language is if you've done one of the recognized language tests. So it can be for English, it can be CELPIP, it can be IELTS. For French, it's TEF or TCF, which is the Test d'évaluation français or the Test compréhension français. And those are both for Canada. Okay, so it's very important that you do those, and it's very important that you get as high as possible. It really makes a huge, huge difference. You know, the moment your language benchmark goes above 9, it makes a big difference, especially with regards to your skill transferability factors. So really make sure you focus on the test and you do you prep for it, and that you score as high as possible. You must get your educational credential assessment done, okay, if you want to claim points for education, which, you know, in almost all cases you're going to need to. So make sure you get your qualifications assessed so that you can claim the points for your education. Obviously, if you have a Canadian credential, you don't need to get that assessed, okay? World Education Services still seem to be the fastest of the recognized bodies, okay? But just go to IRCC's website, they're all listed there, okay? So once you have those done, then you can create your profile and go into the pool. Obviously, you still need to meet one of the economic categories, okay? So you create your profile, you enter in all your skilled work information, and then you're in the pool, and then you wait to see if you're issued an invitation to apply or an ITA, okay? Once the ITA is issued, you then have 60 days in which to submit your full residency application, which includes providing all the further details with regards to your address history, with regards to your travel history, your full personal history, okay? This is when you also upload all the documents with regards to the proof of your work. You upload your police checks, your medicals, etc. Okay, so that is when you file the full application. So what can you do whilst you're waiting for your invitation to apply? Well, what you need to do once you have an active profile, make sure that you check your points and the expiry date of your profile, okay? Because obviously, you know, when if you have a birthday, if you're, you know, 30 years and over, then you're going to lose some points. Make sure you keep your information up to date. If you change jobs, make sure you list that, especially make sure you have the right NOC listed. If you change civil status, so if you've gotten married or you have a common law spouse or you have a child, this needs to be added to your profile. If you leave Canada, okay, so perhaps you're in Canada and when you created your profile, you were working here, but your work permit expired, you weren't able to stay, and so you've returned home. You're still eligible to apply for residency. However, you need to make sure that your profile is updated to reflect the fact that you're now currently living abroad. Okay, if you have a new passport, that needs to be added. And if you have a representative to be added, then you can add that as well. Make sure you check that your language test is valid, okay, and that your ECA is valid as well. Double check your employment, okay, because you will note that your employment, you don't put day, month, year, you just put month, year. So sometimes the system will update it prior to actually creating completing 1 year or 2 years of work experience, okay? So just double check that because you may find that you're given points a bit too early. That's okay, you just need to wait till you complete the full amount of time before submitting the application, okay? Your age is updated automatically too. Make sure you meet the settlement funds if needed, okay? Obviously, these also change annually, so make sure that yours are updated. Get your police checks if needed. Bear in mind that as long as the police check is issued post-departure of the country, then it will still be valid. Okay, but again, double check. This is a general webinar, so you need to check specifically the country for which you need the police checks. Make sure you get the right ones too. And if they need to be translated, make sure they get translated. You can start gathering your proof of employment. So tax documents, contracts, pay slips, and you can start, starting to look out for employment references or starting to request them. Again, it's always better the employment references are as up to date as possible, but you can certainly start gathering the information. Don't do your medical yet. Okay, so wait until you've given the invitation to apply before you do the medical. They're only valid for 12 months, so you don't want to do a medical until you need to. What can you do whilst waiting? Redo your language test, okay? Score higher. Again, depends on the points that you have right now, but if you have anything under CLB 9 across the board, I strongly recommend you redo it. You can even if you have a 9 and you want to get a 10, this can also help. Might just be a few points, but it can be enough to make the difference as to whether you're given an ITA or not. If you speak any French, do a test, get the points, okay? Not only to get extra points for having a second language, there's bonus points too if you speak French, okay? If you already have a 3-year degree, then perhaps you can do another short diploma to get extra points, because then you can claim to have two diplomas, okay? Obviously, one of them does need to be a minimum of 3 years. Keep working in skilled employment. All you're going to do is continue adding to your work experience duration. If your points aren't high enough, then what you can do is start looking at other permanent residency options. Okay, so provincial nominee programs, the Atlantic Immigration Program, perhaps you have a Canadian spousal. You can look at getting another work permit to gain more Canadian experience and more points. So either your employer can apply for a labor market impact assessment. Okay, again, case by case. This is when an employer basically says that they cannot find a Canadian for a position and they want to hire a foreign worker. It's an employer application, so they need to submit that to Service Canada. Perhaps you can get another international experience class work permit, okay, through a recognized organization or through a second passport. Okay, there are also LMIA exempt streams, you know, such as intercompany transfers. This could be an option. So, you know, spousal open work permits, depending on your situation. So again, it is very much case by case, but you need to make sure, you know, that you maintain your status. Okay. One other thing you can do too is you can also look into a study permit, okay, which will allow you then to get a post-grad work permit. Obviously, you need to make sure the college or the institution is a designated learning institution, and you need to ensure that your program allows for post-grad work permit. This will allow you to stay in Canada longer. Okay, and then also you get a Canadian diploma, more experience. Most important thing though is that you stay in status whilst you're here. Okay, so make sure you adhere to the conditions of your current permit. Make sure you stay in status. The onus is on you, the applicant, to double check your permit. Make sure you always stick to those conditions. Okay, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to email us direct, info@canadianvisaspecialists.com. Any questions? If you perhaps want a consultation, or if you'd look for representation, we'd be happy to help. Of course, follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Don't hesitate, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then we will be posting up more videos in the future to help you with your immigration to Canada. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day.